Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to 3-Wide IndyCar Edition. This week I'll be talking about the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. The race started with rookie Robert Wickens on the pole with Will Power on the front row in second. As they go through turn 1, no problems as we see, and then we look into turn 2, Will Power goes around, backing it into the wall, only damaging the rear wing a little bit. This is where the new aero kit plays a big role because that was the old one. The pods that would protect the back wheels would be gone. And then later on in the first lap, Tony Kanaan spins around. And then after all that carnage and craziness that was going on, one lap later, Charlie Kimball goes around in the turn 13 and 14, stalls the car, proving that even it's a new team, still the same luck for him and probably the same driving. And he brings out the first full course caution of the year. Then on the next restart, we get our first pass for the lead under green, where rookie Jordan King goes around Robert Wickens to take the lead in his Ed Carpenter machine. Then one lap later, Graham Rahal goes into turn 1 out of control, gets into the side of the other Ed Carpenter machine of Spencer Pigot. This gets Rahal going around. Pigot stalls. Rahal keeps going to bring out the second caution of the year. Now on the restart, lap 11, Jordan King's still in the lead with Robert Wickens in second. They go into turn 1. King goes wide. Wickens swoops back in to take the lead to set a tone for what today would be for him. Now on lap 23, the second Penske problem of the day goes awry when Simon Pagenaud pits and stalls the car. Now on lap 28, we get another caution here where Matheus Leis hits the wall after he had problems, ending his rookie debut race, where he qualified in the top 3 and puts one AJ Foyt car out of today's race. Now on lap 35, Jordan King comes into the pits with a tire going down, and then in turn 1, Scott Dixon on the paint slips through, can't get the car rode down enough, gets into the back of Takuma Sato, and brings out another caution. On lap 40, Jack Harvey cuts a tire. He goes through the grass at turn 13, ends his day there with a broken wing and a destroyed rear tire, putting his Michael Shank car out of today's race. After a long green flag run that included many pit stops with 9 laps to go, Renee Bender puts it into the wall to bring out a caution. Now with 4 to go, with the battle between Wickens and Rossi heating up for the win, Max Chilton screws it up in the turn, stalls his car, brings out a caution, and what many people, including me, thought could be the end of the race. Here we go, restart with 2 laps to go. Rossi in second, Wickens defending the lead. Rossi gets into the corner, carries it too much, bounces into Wickens, takes him out. Rossi loses the lead, and that'll do it for today's race, where Sebastian Bourdais, using an unconventional pit strategy, wins for the second time in a row at St. Petersburg under caution. After all that, the podium for the race was Sebastian Bourdais in first, leading 30 laps, Graham Rahal in second, and Alexander Rossi, even with that bump and costing Wickens the win, finishes third with no penalty. Wickens goes from the lead to finishing all the way in 18th. The lap leaders for the day were Robert Wickens with 69 laps led, Sebastian Bourdais with 30, Alexander Rossi with 5, Jordan King with 5, and Ryan Hunter-Reay with 1. Overall, a great race and a great way to start the Verizon IndyCar season. Now, on to the 3 bad things that came out of the St. Petersburg Grand Prix. Number 1, only 2 Chevys in the top 10. Yes, just like NASCAR, Chevy struggled in this race. Chevy with the Universal Aero Kit losing to Honda with only 2 Chevys in the top 10, with that making 8 Hondas. Chevy caught a lot of bad luck if you really think about it, where Will Power could have been higher up if he didn't have his problems in the beginning. Simon Pagenaud could have been higher up if he didn't stall it in the pits. Jordan King looked like he was on pace for a good run if he didn't have his tire problems. Spencer Pigot was looking pretty decent if he didn't get into his wreck with Graham Rahal. And if Matheus Leis didn't have his problems, he could have probably brought it home in the top 10, probably making this a 5-5 split in the top 10. Number 2, the Rossi move at the end. Robert Wickens and Alexander Rossi were putting on a show at the end. With 2 laps to go when that last caution came out, Alexander Rossi decided to carry it in too hot and try to pull a new garden on Pagenaud and bounce it off of Wickens to take the lead and possibly the win at St. Petersburg. But that did not come to fruition, where Wickens went spinning around, causing him to go from 1st to 18th, and Rossi didn't even get the win. He finished 3rd. I understand some people calling for a penalty, but now IndyCar needs to be consistent to where if this happens later in the year, they don't call a penalty, because then everyone will draw attention back to this race. And number 3, the next IndyCar race is April 7th. Yes, the next IndyCar race takes place at ISM Raceway in Phoenix on April 7th. Yesterday was March 11th when this race took place. After having such a great race and everyone wondering what's going to come out of this, a month layoff only hurts IndyCar. As we could tell by the scheduling of this race trying to finish up before the NASCAR's Phoenix race, IndyCar should look to start the week earlier and compete with this NASCAR West Tour where they can finish one race before Las Vegas, one race before Phoenix, and one race before Fontana, giving a 3-week stretch where IndyCar could look to seize more fans and take an opportunity to make IndyCar back into what it used to be. Now on to the 3 good things that came out of St. Petersburg Grand Prix. Number 1, the close racing. There was a recorded 366 on-track passes. That set a new record that stood since 2008. This was a good step for the new aero kits for IndyCar and potentially could set this apart to show they're the premier road racing series in the world. Number 2, Robert Wickens. After setting the IndyCar world on fire on Saturday, taking the pole in his first start in the Schmitz-Peterson number 6, Robert Wickens led a race-high 69 laps and probably should have won the race. Now, as a guy who doubted Schmidt-Peterson going into this race and going into the season, I believe Wickens and Hinchcliffe both showed that Schmidt-Peterson could be the best team that Honda has this year. With Hinchcliffe finishing 4th and Wickens dominating the race, I believe Schmidt-Peterson could take steps forward to be one of the more dominant teams this year and has way more to offer than I expected. And number 3, Sebastian Bourdais goes back-to-back. After its horrific crash during Indy qualifying last season, Sebastian Bourdais was in the hospital and sat out for most of the end of the Verizon IndyCar Series, coming back at Gateway to finish out the season, finishing with Gateway, Watkins Glen, and Sonoma. Sebastian Bourdais could potentially show what the lost fruitions from last year were, where he was on a great pole run at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and probably, more than likely, I think, would have finished in the top 10 in points, if not the top 5. Now Sebastian Bourdais, looking if he can do the full season this year without having anything that happened last year to him, could be one of the forces to watch this year in the IndyCar Series. Now what to look forward to in a month at Phoenix. Number 1, will Simon Pagenaud repeat? Last year, Simon Pagenaud showed he was the dominant car at Phoenix last year, with only 4 cars finishing on the lead lap, all Chevys. Let's see if Chevy could do it this year with the Universal Aero Kit. Will that bring Honda back into the party with them most likely having the stronger engine? And will Penske rebound? They had 3 of the 4 cars on the lead lap last year. Number 2, the short oval debut. After St. Petersburg, the Verizon IndyCar Series goes to the short oval in Phoenix. With the new Aero Kit, will this make Phoenix a better race, worse race, or the same? We'll find out when they go racing on April 7th. And number 3, will Robert Wickens use what happened to him at St. Pete as fuel or make it a weight on his shoulder? As we've seen with many young drivers in racing, let's use Chase Elliott for the example last year at Martinsville. When he got turned by Denny Hamlin, he used that as a fuel to go get what he wanted and almost won at Phoenix. Now with Robert Wickens experiencing heartbreak at St. Pete, potentially winning in his first start, let's see if Wickens will use this as fuel to get the win, or will it be a weight holding him back for the rest of the season? And that'll do it for 3 Wide IndyCar Edition. Thanks for watching.